Alexander the Great is remembered in history not only because he conquered vast lands, but also because of the extraordinary military genius that he demonstrated on the battlefield. His strategies, his tactics, and his ability to inspire his men made him one of the greatest commanders the world has ever seen. Even though his empire did not last long after his death, his style of warfare influenced armies and generals for centuries. To understand why Alexander was called undefeated, we must look at the way he thought, the way he planned, and the way he fought. From his early days, Alexander studied war. His father, King Philip II of Macedon, had already reformed the Macedonian army into a strong and disciplined force. Philip introduced the famous phalanx formation, which became the backbone of Alexander's army. The phalanx consisted of long spears called sarissas, which were often over 5 meters in length. Soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder in tight ranks, presenting an almost impenetrable wall of spears. This formation was strong in defense and deadly in attack, but it required perfect discipline and training. Alexander inherited this army from his father, but he did not stop there. He took the phalanx and combined it with cavalry, light infantry, archers, and siege engines in a way that no one had ever done before. One of Alexander's greatest strengths was his use of combined arms. He understood that victory on the battlefield came not from one single type of soldier, but from the coordination of many different types. He would use his phalanx to pin the enemy down, holding them in place with their massive wall of spears. Then, at the decisive moment, he would lead his cavalry, especially his elite companion cavalry, in a powerful charge on the enemy's flank or rear. This combination of holding the enemy with infantry and striking with cavalry was devastating. The enemy, once trapped, would be crushed by the speed and strength of his attack. Another sign of Alexander's genius was his ability to adapt. He did not fight every battle the same way. He studied his opponents carefully and he changed his tactics depending on the terrain, the weather, and the kind of enemy he faced. Against the Persians, who had massive numbers, Alexander relied on discipline, speed, and surprise. Against Indian armies with war elephants, he used clever maneuvers to outflank them and to scare the animals into turning on their own masters. Alexander never underestimated his enemies. He always looked for their weaknesses and struck at the right moment. Alexander was also a master of siege warfare. In the ancient world, capturing fortified cities was often more difficult than winning open battles. Alexander proved himself in this field as well. The most famous example is the siege of Tyre. Tyre was an island city, strongly fortified and protected by the sea. Many thought it was impossible to conquer, but Alexander built a massive causeway stretching from the mainland to the island, bringing his siege engines across the water. After 7 months of hard struggle, he took the city. This victory showed not only his determination but also his genius in engineering and logistics. Morale was another factor in Alexander's success. He did not simply command his army, he inspired them. He often fought in the front lines, risking his own life beside his men. He shared their hardships, marching with them through deserts, climbing mountains, and enduring hunger and thirst. His soldiers respected him not only as a king but also as a fellow warrior. Because of this, they followed him into battles against impossible odds and believed that no enemy could defeat them as long as Alexander was with them. Leadership for Alexander also meant psychological warfare. He understood the power of reputation. His enemies feared him before the battles even began. Stories of his speed, his bravery, and his victories spread across Asia. Sometimes entire cities surrendered without a fight simply because they had heard what Alexander had done elsewhere. His name alone was enough to break the will of his opponents. What truly made Alexander unique was his vision. He did not see himself only as a king of Macedonia. He believed he was destined to rule the world. This vision gave him the determination to keep moving forward, from Greece to Persia, from Egypt to India. For him, each battle was not just a fight for land, but a step toward creating an empire that united East and West. His strategies were not only military but also political. He often showed respect for the cultures he conquered, wearing Persian clothes, marrying a Persian princess, and adopting some local customs. By doing this, he reduced resistance and gained loyalty from his new subjects. In the end, Alexander the Great's military genius was a combination of discipline, innovation, adaptability, inspiration, and vision. He was undefeated in battle, not because he had the largest army, but because he knew how to use every resource available to him in the smartest way possible. He turned war into an art, and through that art he created one of the largest empires the world had ever seen. His strategies are still studied in military academies today, more than 2,000 years after his death. This is why history remembers him not just as a conqueror, but as a true military genius.